My name is Atif. I organize with Oakville-Halton for Palestine. Just to start, who we are, what we do, our history goes back to January 29th, 2024, where a group of us attended the town hall in Oakville and intended to speak as delegates. That turned into a sit-in because the mayor of Oakville decided to deny us the ability to speak. That then became a 4-hour sit-in, and that 4-hour sit-in became a movement in Oakville where community members decided to get together and form a grassroots group, which we called Oakville-Halton for Palestine. And since then, that group's grown to many, many events. It's grown into not just protests, movements in terms of mass email campaigns, movements in terms of fundraisers, one of which is coming up on May 2nd. That'll be our second large fundraiser. It comes down to organizing with other grassroots movements such as PYM and Milton Palestine Action Committee, and many of those across the country. Community members here today have joined you in the effort to promote this particular platform, Vote Palestine. Now I want to focus on something that we often miss. I guess it's because of where we live and who we are in the society we live in. It's the word individualism. And we talk about it in a passing way, but maybe it's just ingrained in us and we don't realize it. One car on the highway, one coffee, standing in line, not talking to anyone, going about your day, minding your business, not doing anything to bug anyone else, just getting your things done. I want to talk about the other word, which doesn't get spoken about enough, and that's collectivism, and how collectivism is what really drives the change, and what collectivism does to ensure that progress can happen, what collectivism does to bring issues like this to the forefront, where in any other election cycle, Palestine may not have been a part of the election cycle. But we're making sure that it is, because you're here today, because we're choosing to move forward with this particular platform and ensure that politicians make this as part of their, at the bare minimum, as part of their talking point when they knock on doors, when they approach us on the street. So why is our activism rooted in the liberation of Palestine? Nearly 70 years ago, colonial occupation began. How can we connect that back to our state of affairs, where every facet of our economy is somehow connected to the oppression of Palestinians? I mean, you can just go back. Let's just start from October 7th. You can go further back, but let's just start from October 7th and just name some of the things that we've learned are connected to the oppression of Palestinians, that we ourselves oftentimes don't have a choice to avoid. The banking system, the military-industrial complex, the lobbying industry, academic institutions, food and material goods that are used to empower the political engine, the political class, which we know as Zionism. The gradual shift towards enablement of business capital class at the expense and toil of the working class, which are us here. I don't think any of us are like Elon Musk level, so we're the working class. We're the ones who go out day in and day out, try to work and try to feed our families. Where we may feel the pinch of the oppression of the oligarchs and those who are the billionaires, we feel the pinch and we complain about it, we may post about it, we may sit around and talk about it, but who's really actually feeling it? It's the Palestinians who are actually feeling it. It's not a pinch. It's the sound of a bomb exploding outside their home or down the street, or going constantly to see or hear about the most recent loved one that they've lost. Where neoliberalism has become the primary objective of our political leadership, regardless of what party they're from. And so where does Palestine fit in all this? The genocide of Palestinians has exposed the global north, or the Western states, hypocrisy. Where if you recall back to when our previous Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, was in Washington, D.C., and he was stuttering, where his brain wanted to say ceasefire, but his tongue couldn't utter the words. Where he had internalized, maybe, the existence and need for a ceasefire, but could not act upon it. And what we later learned was that he is what he says he ended up being, a Zionist. And those are his departing words, really, I am a Zionist. When the genocide has exposed the hypocrisy of exposing the rule of law, the censorship of freedom, such as journalists like E. Zengler, who was if you're familiar, he's a journalist from Montreal, and he was arrested and jailed, and he's still facing charges for calling out and objectively reporting on Zionists. The arrest and beating of peaceful protesters right here in the GTA, the expulsion of students from university campuses. When we have demanded to enforce a two-way arms embargo, they closed. What they ended up doing when we were protesting and demanding our MPs to enforce a two-way arms embargo, they were testing weapons, Israeli missiles in Alberta. When we have demanded for a more equitable system to bring Gazans to Canada, it was turned down, and really on deaf ears. Where we have demanded the CPP, the Canadian pension plan, to divest from Israeli companies and the war industry, again, it has fallen on deaf ears. Where our government nearly chose to oppose the South African delegation to the ICC, and due to public pressure chose to rescind that objection. And so what do we do? So what do we do as a collective? How do we bring forward change that is fundamentally rooted in the liberation of Palestine? And it goes back to what we started in this discussion. It's collectivism. I think that's really the answer. It's not individualism. It's not simply just tweeting. It's not simply just crying into a pillow at night. It's actually coming out the way you are doing and taking up time out of your lives to make a point that I'm going to make this part of my election cycle, my federal election cycle. It's your federal election cycle. It's not about the politicians, it's about you and I. And this is why we must mobilize. This is why collectivism is critical to bringing liberation to Palestine. This is what brought you here, where the liberation of Palestine is a liberation for everyone. Thank you.